Okay, here we are on day 36. This one is kind of a long lesson, so I'm splitting it into two parts. The main theme is slopes and slope equations. So on this first part, I'm going to be just dealing with slopes, the slope of a line. And then the second part will be the slope equations. So we're going to scroll down here. These are the exercises you should be working through on your own. The answers are in the back. That'll help you for the other tests. Pass the drills. And we're going to go right down here to the math windows, which is on page 6 of 14. And we're going to zoom in here on the first problem right there. Okay, so this graph shows test taker scores on the January 10th written exam for emergency medical technicians. EMT test scores. And the graph there, that orange graph, goes up and then comes down. It ranges from 50 to 100 as the score of the percentage of test takers. It shows the percentage of test takers on the side. And you can see that most of them score in the middle between 70 and 80. That's where most of them are scoring. This is called a bell curve because the curve comes out looking like a bell. Many things result in bell curves. Test scores and grades often follow a bell curve because most of the students finish in the middle. Okay, so the question on the bottom is, according to this graph, the same number of test takers scored between 80 and 90 as scored between which two other numbers? So 80 and 90 is right here, and that underneath the curve represents how many people score between 80 and 90. And what you want to do is find an area that's the same as that area. Now, the first one says 50 and 100. 50 and 100 is everyone, so that's not the right answer. What part under the curve looks just like that? 50 and 60? No, that's that little piece. We want to find a part that looks just like this. Here's a part that looks just like this. It's a mirror image. It's exactly like this. And what does that say? 60 to 70. 60 to 70. Answer C. It looks just like that one. No math involved, just eyeballing it, looking at it, and you can find the right answer. Okay, number 2. Jolly wants to buy a digital camera. By the way, I hope you try these before you listen to the solution. Okay, you should be attempting them before you listen to these. Jolly wants to buy a digital camera. She checked the prices at 2 stores, Digital Earth and Interdeals. At Digital Earth, the camera costs $160 plus a shipping charge of $13.25. There is no sale tax at Digital Earth. At Interdeals, the camera costs $150.50 plus a 6% sales tax and $1.25 for shipping. How much less will Jolie pay for the camera if she buys it from Interdeals rather than from Digital Earth? So the only way really to solve this is we have to compare the two deals. So I'm going to do that by writing on the paper. Okay, so I got a paper version here. Okay, so we're going to do first the Digital Earth. Digital Earth had $160 plus $13.25 shipping charge. Now you could add this on your calculator. I'm still an old-fashioned, add it this way. Okay, 160. There was a decimal point there. These are zeros here if there's nothing. So that's 25, 3, 7, 1, 173.25. Now the Interdeals, that's a little more complicated. It costs $150.50. Plus 6% sales tax. So that's 6% of the cost. How do you do 6%? Well, when you say 6% of 150.50, of usually means multiply. So we're going to multiply. We're going to do 6, but we don't really want to multiply by 6. That's percent. We're going to move the decimal point 2 places. So here's our 6. 1, we have to put a 0 to move it another place. 0.06. 6% is 0.06 times 150/50. Okay? Using your calculator. Calculator. Okay, well, calculator here. I got 150/50. 150.50 times what? 0.06. Don't forget your decimal point. Equals $9 and what's that? 3 cents. $9.03. That's $9.03. Or actually, I can put it over here. $9.03. And $1.25 for shipping. Well, the shipping at least is cheaper. $1.25. You can add these three numbers on your calculator. 5 and 3 is 8. 5 and 2 is 7. 10. 0. 1 and 5 is 6. 160. 28. So this one's 173, 25, 160, 78. What do? You're comparing. How much more is this one than that one? You subtract. To find the difference, you subtract. 160.78. And of course, you could do this on your calculator. If you're not using a calculator, though, and you're old-fashioned like me, you do it this way. 112.40. I mean, there's no 1 there. Sorry. $12.47. There it is. C. Okay. Of course, if your answer isn't there, you have to check and see what you did wrong. Okay, for a game, half as many points are awarded for hitting the blue target as for hitting the red target. Calvin hit the red target 5 times and the blue target 3 times and earned a total of 325 points. How many points is each blue target worth? Okay, he hit the red target 5 times and the blue target 3 times and earned a total of 25 points. Well, let's just take one of them. Let's take 50. If the blue is 50, it says the blue is what? Half as many points awarded for hitting the blue. The blue is half of the red. So that means red must be 100. Now, if you had 5 reds, that's 500. You're already over. And 3 blues would be 150. That's 650. That's way too big. Almost double. Almost double. Well, let's try 25 then. This one's weird, so we won't even try those. Let's try 25. So if the blue is 25, that means the red is 50, right? You got 5 reds. 5 times 50 is 5 times 5 is 25. That's 250. And 3 blues, 3/4 is 75. You add them up, 325. That's right. So this was the right answer, A. Now, is that math? Well, we're just guessing. We're doing trial and error. But because we have multiple choice on the HiSET, you can do that. You know one of these answers is correct. You can try them out and see which ones works. This is if you forget the math, how to do the math. Okay, now I'm going to do it the algebra way. I know that I'll call blue X. Blue is X points. Red is double blue, so we're going to call red 2X. Right? Now, she got 5 reds, it said. Hit the red 5 times. So 5 times 2X plus 3 blues, 3 times X equals 325. 5 times 2x is 10x plus 3x equals 325. 13x equals 325. So to get x, how do we isolate x? We divide both sides by 13. 325 divided by 13. If you do put that in your calculator, it gives you 25. Blue is 25. There we go. Last one. 58% of what is 63.4? The first time I did this problem, I did 58% of 63.4, and I just did this. 58%, I changed it to decimal, 0.58. You move the decimal point 2 places. Times, because of, you means multiply, 63.4. And I forgot what I got as an answer, but whatever it was, the wrong answer. I think 36.7, 36.8, I don't know, something like that. But then I looked back and I realized, it didn't say 58% of 63.4. It said 58% of what? Meaning what number is 63.4? That means 0.58 times, I'm not going to use an x because that looks like an x. I'll say y equals 36.8. Is that the right number, 36.8? No, we're not doing 36.8. Equals 63.4. 58% of what number is 63.4? Is 63.4. Now, I want to solve for y. How do I do it? I divide by 0.58. That'll make this 1y. So y is equal to, and if I divide this by 0.58, I divide this by 0.58. 63.4 divided by 0.58. Y equals, if you put this in your calculator, I'm not going to do it because it runs up time here, but if you put it in your calculator, you should get 109.31. Now, does that sound about right? Well, if it said 50% of what number is 63.4, 50% is half. That means about double, 120 about. Yeah, we're in the right ballpark. Or if you think of it this way, 58% of 100 is 58. So it has to be a little bit bigger than 100 because the answer is 63.4. So this does make sense as an answer, 109.31. Okay, so we're going to go on to today's lesson, which I'm going to get my computer up again here. Okay, let's do this. 71. Okay, so here's our math windows, and we're going to scroll down. And there we got slope and slope equations. Now you remember we're working on our coordinate plane, right? And learning about coordinates. Okay, so what are we going to do with those coordinates? Well, let's look. Slope and slope equations. So, what is the slope? Well, when you think of slopes, you think of hills, going up hills and going down hills. See this car going up this incline? And they're calling this the rise and this the run. The rise is how far something goes up, and the run is over what distance. So if you kept the run the same and you kept increasing this rise, it's going to get, the slope's going to get steeper and steeper and steeper. So we're going to divide the rise by the run to give us a number that gives us the slope, okay? Right here, the rise and the run are pretty almost close together. They're almost the same. So if they were the same, the slope would be 1 because the rise would be equal to the run. Here the run's a little bit bigger, so the slope is actually a little less than 1. It's a fraction. Okay? So, let me show you a little bit down here what they're talking about. Let me use a marker. So, if this is our y-axis, and this is our x-axis, we're going to be looking at lines, right? So a line, let me use a different color so we won't get mixed up. A line has a certain slope. So I could put a line here with a, let me do a slope where I'm going to put it right through the origin. And in this line, the x is the same as the y. From here, 4, it's 4 up there. 7, 7. It's the same. This would be a slope of 1. The slope of a line equals 1. Any slope beneath this, if it's not as steep, the slope is less than 1. Down all the way down to 0. So this is all fractional slopes. 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, or you can think of them as decimal, 0.32. They're all smaller than 1. When it's steeper, the slope goes up to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Think of a line that can be steeper and steeper. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Until you get almost up to here. You could be like 100, a million, a billion. When you get here, where it's completely vertical, we don't give it a number. It's like infinity. So we say the slope is undefined. Any vertical line, the slope is undefined because it's way too steep. Any flat line, what do you think the slope is of that? Well, there's no slope. The slope is 0. Okay? How do we write the slope if the slope is 0? Well, if the equation says y equals 8, we know the slope is 0. If the equation says that would be y equals 8, would be a line right through the 8. Any horizontal line would be written y equals. Any vertical line, like this, that are undefined, they would be x equals 4. That's a vertical line. So these two equations produce, this one produces a horizontal line and this one produces a vertical line. Okay, those are slopes. What happens if the slope isn't going up? What if it's coming down? Well, if it's coming down, we mentioned before, those are negative slopes, and we're going to see why they're negative slopes. Okay, so we're going on here. Okay, so where were we? We're on our thing here, and we're looking at this. So it shows you a way that we can measure slopes by using coordinates. And to measure a slope, you need 2 coordinates to measure the slope of a line. And what you do is you look at the change in the y. Something happened. I shouldn't mess with my camera, should I? Oh, it didn't happen here. It happened down there. This was fine. It's down here that it happened. Oh. Great. Okay, back here. So they find the difference in the slope of the line, the difference in the x and the difference in the y. So you can see in this example that they gave, the y increased 1, the x increased 2, and 1 divided by 2 is 1/2. So that would be a slope of 1/2. Whereas here, the line's going the other way, the x went up 2. From this point to this point, the x went up 2, but the y went down 6. So it's negative 6 over 2, a slope of negative 3. So you can use those two coordinates, and by subtracting the y's and the x's, you can figure out the slope. Okay, let's move on to the next page here. Okay. And here it is, slope and slope equations. Okay, well, we're still only talking at the slope still. So the rise is the run. You take the y for the second point and subtract the y from the first point. The x divided by the x from the second point minus the x from the first point. That's just the change in the y and the change in the x. Now, they start with y2 minus y1. You could start with y1 minus y2, but if you do y1 minus y2, you got to do x1 minus x2. You always have to start with the same one first, but you'll come up with the same answer. Okay, and they gave you an example here. You can read through the example, see how they found the slope. Okay, down at the bottom here it says a horizontal line has a slope of 0. That's what we talked about. A vertical line is undefined, and the slope equation will not work. Okay, very simple. So we're going to go on to the exercises now. So I'm going to be on page 11 of 14, slope practice. Find the slope of each line. Okay, so that's good enough. So this first one, so you want to look at the change. It went from here to here. How many x's did it move over? How many spaces? 1, 2, 3. That's the x change 3. Remember, the x is on the bottom because that's the run. The rise, it went up 1, 2, 3. So the slope of this line is 1. 3 over 3. Number 2. Here, let's start on this one and go to this one. So it went up 2. The x went up 2. That goes on the bottom. The y from here to here went down 1, 2, 3, 4. It went down 4, so that's negative 4 over 2. Negative 4 over 2 is equal to negative 2. The slope is negative 2, and it's a negative slope because it's going down instead of going up. Number 3, up. If that was a road, what's the slope? Well, there is no slope, so what's the slope? It's equal to 0. And you could compare. If you did subtracting, the x went over 3, but the y didn't change. It's still the same y, 1. So we put 0. The y did not change. And 0 over 3 is equal to 0. So that one's easy enough. Okay. Use the slope formula to find the slope of a line that passes through the following pairs of points. Okay, so you got 2 points. How do you do it? Well, you start with 1 point and you subtract the other point. Now, that's the x comes first, so I'll put that on the bottom. 3 minus 1. 3 minus. Remember, you're subtracting to find the difference, how much it changed. 3 minus a minus 1 is 3 plus 1 is 4. The y is 5 minus 2 is 3. The slope is 3/4. Here, 0 minus 4 is negative 4. 2, because I started with this one, 2 minus 0 is 2. Negative 2 over negative 4 is equal to negative 1/2. 4 minus 2. 2, make sure you put it on the bottom. It's very easy to start on the top first. The y, 2 minus 2 is 0. That's a slope of 0. And you can see the y didn't change, so it's a horizontal line. Yes, a horizontal line. Okay, 6 minus 0, 6. 1 minus 3, negative 2. Negative 1/3. 1 minus a minus 2 is plus 3, because you're going to you're going to subtract a minus 2, which means you add 2. 4 minus a minus 2 is 4 plus 2 is 6. Is there a paper there? Oh, yeah. Equal to 2. Last one. 4 minus 2 is 2. Negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. That's equal to negative 3. Okay. Choose the one best answer for each question. Is there a question there? I don't even see it. Oh, okay. Maybe I should make it a little smaller. Which of the following lines shows the graph has a slope of negative 1/3? So first of all, it says negative. So we know it has to be going down. That's going up, positive. That's even, 0. That one's going up, positive. Here's the only one going down. So that's got to be the right one. Is it 1/3? Well, we could check that. But you'd have to find a nice, here's a nice point. It went down 1 and it went over 3. So it's 1/3. Negative 1/3. A. Number 11. Line N passes through the following points. Goes through all those points. What is the slope of line N? Well, you only need 2 points to find the slope. Which one? Let's start with the first 2. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. 4 minus 2 is 2. That's equal to negative 2. There it is. If you had taken another one, let's try this one. 1 minus 2, negative 1. 2 minus 0, 2. Same thing, negative 2. Okay. Line L passes through the points 1, 0 and has a slope of 3. Which of the following points also lies on line L? So 1 minus, we'll start here, 1 minus one of these, and 0 minus the y of one of these equals to 3, right? So let's try this one. If we use 0 through, we'd have 1 minus 0 is 1, and 0 minus 3 would be minus 3. Is that what we want, minus 3? No, we want positive 3. That's positive 3. This would give us a minus 3, because we get 1 minus 0 is 1, and 0 minus 3 is minus 3. So that would give us a minus 3, and we want a slope of 3. So that's no good. How about this one, 1? 1 minus 1 is 0, undefined. We don't want 0 dividing, so let's try this one. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. So let's try this. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. And 0 minus 3 is negative 3. Negative 3 over negative 1 is equal to 3. This one must be the right one. This one would give us a negative 1, would give us negative 5. Would give us 5 as an answer. We want that one. Okay. Find the slope of the line through each pair of points. Well, I'm not going to do all of these. You can do these and check in the back. But what you're doing is you're subtracting, again, 19, I'll do 1, I guess, minus a minus 7, which is 19 plus 7, 26. And on the top you have negative 16 minus a minus 15 is plus 15 minus 1 over 26. It's real tedious work. If you want to practice it, you'll burn it into your head that you subtract the one from the other, and the x goes on the bottom. You can do that. Otherwise, if you think you got it, don't even worry about it. You don't have to do all that work if you know how to do it. Remember, you get no credit for doing work. The work is only to help you learn things. If you think you learned it, don't do the work. You're just wasting your own time. Okay, that's it for this part. And the next part will be working with slope equations that give us line equations. Okay, equations of lines.